Thank you, Mr. Negi. Are you able to hear me, all of you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Mr. Negi has given a good background. This is an issue which we have been discussing for years together. Petroleum sector, including gas. So much so that the period in which we have discussed this over the last 20, 25 years, I do not think that we have been able to make any significant headway on the issue of how do we secure energy security from the point of view of petroleum and natural gas. And that's why this issue that we today have slated for discussion, it is not only energy transition, it is energy transition from the point of view of petroleum and natural gas. As mentioned, and now this data is getting changed almost every day. Coal proportion in the energy basket is slightly reducing, but it is still somewhere around 50%. And petroleum, that means diesel and oil and gas put together, is almost about 35 to 36% flat. So if you take coal and petroleum and gas together, it is between 85, 86, 87%. As I said, that because of the massive expansion of renewables, the proportion is getting changed every month, every day. But still, this figure of plus 85% of coal plus and the petroleum and natural gas put together, this is a major challenge for India. Coal, because coal is something where carbon dioxide is associated, and even though absolute value of coal production will increase, absolute value of coal that will go into power production will increase, but relatively its proportion will decrease over next 10, 15, 20, 30 years. Petroleum, and it has increased. Petroleum and natural gas seem to be stagnant, but both these, whether it is coal or it is petroleum or gas, from the point of view of energy transition, all these three are challenge. All. Coal because of, as I said, carbon emission, and petroleum and natural gas because of dependence on import. I mean, we hardly have. I think in somewhere around 2010, I had my third book, Energy Security and Climate Change. And in that, we had a chapter on management of petroleum sector. Could we have done better? And that chapter was written on the basis of the trend that had been experienced in 10-year period earlier than 2000, around 10. So maybe 2000, 2010. And the conclusion of that analysis was that during the entire period, we have been only increasing the import proportion. And that's why this caption of that chapter was, could we have done better? 15 years down the line now to 2025, the situation has not changed. In fact, it has worsened. Now our dependence on import has increased to a figure of something like 86, 87, 88. I mean, it keeps decreasing a little bit, but in the range of almost 86 to 88% on oil and diesel, and almost about 48 to 50% on gas. In the energy discussion, one of the global challenges that has emerged is that we might be talking of globalization in the last 20 years of the last century and last 20 years of this century. Globalization is getting into a challenge today. Energy security has occupied a position higher than even environmental sustainability. So therefore, any country has to plan its energy management, energy transition, keeping in view the dynamics of geopolitical situation that we are experiencing. Our dependence, and then the type of discussion, the type of relations, the type of discourse, the type of trying to influence this way or that way. I mean, the more you are depending on outside and you are not self-contained in your own scheme of things, more vulnerable you are for a variety of reasons. So therefore, coal is a challenge in the sense that we have CO2, but it is not of that type of challenge that energy security is an issue. Worst comes to worst, we can reconcile to managing the carbon dioxide in a regulated manner, do something on the pre-combustion and post-combustion. But what about our dependence of the order of 35, 38% of petroleum and gas? There we can't do much. So therefore, a very uneasy, very hard look has to be given. And I'm not sure whether what has been done, as I told you, that my book in 2010 and now we are talking 2025. Whatever issues I raised in that chapter in that book, in fact, they have become more pronounced now than they were then. We have not made any headway, in spite of our talking of so many biofuel. These have been only in the margin. A significant impact has not been created in any one of them, nor in case of gas. People in the power sector particularly got so much motivated on gas-based power stations. Despite our advice that we should not be so bullish about this, many of them created their generation capacity. And today, out of 25,000 megawatt of capacity that we have, we are able to access gas in an affordable range of price only for 1/3 of the capacity. So both these have been giving, for the people like us who have been interested in studies, interested in managing, interested in trying to think what is to be done, what is not to be done. This is a very disturbing situation. And as I said, that actions taken are not very well managed. On the demand side, perhaps you can say that something has happened. I happen to chair the advisory board of Railway Energy Management Company in 2015. And within a year and a half, we recommended that against 60,000 kilometer of railway system, hardly around 15,000 kilometer plus had been electrified, and balance all were on diesel. It was a very tough task. In the railway board, the manager mechanical who takes care of transportation, they were against. They still continue to think that diesel-based locomotive will be more useful. But anyway, finally, with the analysis that we did, we could prove that for all the good reasons, it should be important for the railways to convert all these diesel locomotives track into electric traction. Today, you should be happy to see that of the 60,000 kilometer, almost about 50,000 plus have been electrified and more are getting electrified. So I think in the management of petroleum sector, for us to hope that we are going to produce more gas in India and we are going to produce more crude in India, there could be some difference, but I don't think we are going to have a significant impact, because the more we hear of these discussions and these deliberations and the researches and investigations. One of the seminars we had organized in India Energy Forum, and a very experienced professional from the petroleum sector said that we have not been able to explore a good portion, almost 50% of the country, in terms of availability of these fuels. So therefore, our process has been so slow. One is supply side. Can we make a significant difference? It can be. That is one issue that we can discuss today. Can we hope that something will happen very drastically different that will reduce our dependence on import? That's one issue. It should come as a brass tag issue for discussion today. Similarly, on gas, can we say that a very significant change will happen and therefore we will be able to reduce our import from today's about 48 to 50% to maybe, I am not saying the total import will be eliminated, but this much of dependence on import in a geopolitical situation that we have in the world today. It's not a question of only billions of dollars. It's a question of also this geopolitical situation that was there, which touches upon the very vital issue of energy security for the country. So that is the issue of supply side of petroleum and natural gas. Demand side of petroleum and natural gas, as I said, that An exercise has started. This exercise should gain more momentum. We should try to see what all we can replace. In diesel and petrol, transport is the biggest consumer. Transport process of shifting from petrol and diesel to other fuels or other energy sources, that process has picked up, but it is rather slow. So that is one way that we can handle. Can this process be accelerated? What else at the policy level needs to be done so that electric vehicles, electric transportation, also transportation by hydrogen, those are the issues that our biogas or biofuels that we can create. So those are the issues on action-oriented and policy-oriented that we need to. So how do we reduce our consumption, which is normally today by petrol and diesel, our gas? That is one way. How do we increase the supply domestically? Not in any way thinking that we will be totally able to eliminate the import. So I think those are the vital issues that we need to do. My concern has been, as a student of this subject, that in spite of what we have been talking, in serious terms, a very significant impact has not happened. Like a type of impact that has happened in the power sector on solar, let us say. A type of impact that happened in the power sector, even on thermal, that has saved you and saved the country from less than 1 lakh megawatt when we entered this century to today more than 60,000 megawatt, 460 gigawatt. So therefore, that type of intervention, we have claimed more that interventions are there. In fact, from power sector way back in 20 years, I was thinking that petroleum has been very progressive and power sector has been lazy. But when I went into the depth of it, I think I have a second opinion on this. What is that stiffness, and what is that quickness, and what is that dynamism that is lacking in the sector, which is not trying to bring any quick results and reduce our dependence on import. So dependence on import cannot be tolerated in our energy transition management the way it is now, particularly in the emerging context of geopolitical situation. So let us hear some of our experts from the sector. I have been only an outsider so far as this particular sector is concerned, not an outsider as energy, so far as energy sector is concerned. But then we will like to hear more focusing on these issues. How do we improve our supply side? And if we fail to do that or partially succeed, how do we reduce the demand side and transfer these demands, transfer these consumptions to other forms of energy? Not like we have done in railways, let's say. Now we are trying to do in transport. In irrigation, we have done successfully. Irrigation agriculture used to be heavily dependent on diesel. I think with solar revolution, that is taking a new shape. So these are some of the thoughts that should be discussed, and specific suggestions should be made so that then we can share with the concerned authority. Thank you very much. That controversy will never end. I think NTPC and others can sort it out. I think we have had good discussion. In the beginning, I mentioned that out of many issues that we could discuss in this webinar, our focus was managing transition with a specific concern so far as petroleum and gas is concerned. Of course, we have been educated on many other areas as well because we have very experienced panels and they have huge background. But the issue is that how do we manage this transition, which should, in case of particularly petroleum and gas, focus on the matter of import, which is vital for the emerging situation now, which was never so and never expected to be so, of geopolitical security situation and energy security. How can you expect a country to feel comfortable if 86% of its important fuel is coming from different sources outside the country? That was the issue. The new government, NDA government led
Can you
by
put on your
Honorable
video,
Prime
sir?
Minister.
Can you put on your video, sir? Your video is stopped.
Okay.
You're not visible. Yeah.
But audio you were hearing, na?
Yeah.
Repeat.
Okay.
I'm saying that when the new government came under the Prime Minister Mr. Modi, different ministries had different targets. And I must say that most of the things that have been done, most of the things may not be 100%, but a reasonable percentage that has been achieved. Only important thing that was given to the petroleum sector was, and Dr. Manti has rightly brought it out because he has been part of that process, that can we reduce 10 percentage point from 76% to 66% of import. At that time, this geopolitical situation was not as bad as it is today. But still, the concern in energy management was that such a subject like energy, we can't afford to be continuously be dependent to an extent of more than 75%. And this target has not only not been achieved, but in fact, it has increased to 85, 86, 88%. So that is one that we will have to have another discussion, focused discussion again. Energy transition in petroleum sector with reference to oil and gas. Another. What action should be taken? What action should be taken on the supply side and what action should be taken on the demand side? Some of the examples I gave, many of you have also given these examples. And that is, we are shifting the consumption pattern, like maybe cooking may change from gas to electricity. Transport may shift from gas or diesel or petrol to either electric or hydrogen. Like that. Irrigation has largely shifted and is shifting because distributed generation, rural electricity distributed generation is coming up in a big way with 2 megawatt to 5 megawatt solar systems, which will cater to the needs of local areas on irrigation. So therefore, irrigation, which used to be electricity, and because due to lack of electricity in the past and even now in many ways, this was shifting to diesel pumps. So that is shifting. Similarly, many other consumptions which are based, but railways, I gave you the example in a very significant way, is shifting. So I think such measure. But why this is not happening? Because our petroleum companies are not becoming part of the shifting. So can we expect from the petroleum companies to reduce their sales and be part of the process of this transition? That is the problem. And when the new government came, I tell you, in 2014, somewhere 2015, I was meeting Mr. Pradhan. He was the petroleum minister at that time. And I mentioned to him that our petroleum companies, they should be getting into battery, they should be getting into promoting EV, so that they become partner in the process of this transition. Without making these existing petroleum companies, whether in the gas sector or particularly in the oil sector, without making them partner in the process of managing transition, if you say that you keep losing your business to shift consumption to other types of fuels, obviously it hurts their own business. So unfortunately, from then in 10 years, I don't see. I'm not saying that there is no movement at all, but there is no movement of the magnitude and of the dimension that is needed in this critical situation. So I think next time we should have a discussion, and we should also have some senior people directly from these companies, in what way they should become partner in the process of shifting of consumption. Another point that was made during discussion is we are losing a national and an international, a global survey or global study, 58% of energy is lost in the whole system. I think in the power sector, we have a Bureau of Energy Efficiency. We had an Energy Conservation Act. Again, I was very closely part of that process. We set up Bureau of Energy Efficiency. We brought so many schemes, and they have yielded fantastic results, very fantastic results, in terms of not only reducing the consumption and improving the efficiency of electricity, but other forms of energy, including petroleum and fuel and other things. So I think let us have a second round. Today's round has educated us on all issues of concerning the petroleum and the gas sector. Another round can be only on how do we reduce import. We cannot get away totally from any of these fuels. Like that, we cannot get away completely from coal. So there we are trying to do many other things. Similarly, how do we reduce the consumption? And how do we very particularly focus on the ways and means, the policies, the directions, involvement, and the interests of the companies which are dealing with these issues today? And we are wanting that these things will go to somebody else. Obviously, they will never be interested. So they have to be partner in that process. We have to choose technologies, we have to choose options and alternatives where our today's petroleum companies are partners in that process and they don't lose their business. Then only we can manage this transition. Otherwise, as I mentioned to you, when I wrote that chapter during the period 2008-9 and the book came in 2010, I had studies 10 years back, and the situation today is worse, all of you know. So I think this type of example does not exist in any other area of our activity. Everywhere we are in trouble in energy sector. But this type of trouble to first creep in, to continue remaining, and to continue getting exaggerated is an exceptional example. And this exceptional example, I don't think by just repeating it will help. This exceptional example, perhaps which is the only example, we cannot live with this. So therefore, we have to think, all of us, we have to have an uneasy discussion on this. What do we do so that now in the changing scenario, and even if this scenario is not changing, how do we get away from this? Maybe can we bring in next 5 years or 10 years to 50% from 85%, 86%? It is a tall task. We have not been able to bring down from 76 to 66 as targeted by the Honorable Prime Minister. What actions we need to take? So I will request all of you also can be partner in that process of another deliberation, but it will only focus on that, not many. Your energy is such a subject, it's such a subject where we tend to include many things, and with limited time, we are not able to come to the specifics. So I think short-term, medium-term, long-term actions. How do we reduce import? How do we reduce import? Rest of the things also we can discuss. What are the other measures that we can bring in energy efficiency? One of the points Dr. Malhotra made that price shocks. Mr. Dr. Malhotra, you may not have heard me. I was a known speaker in many of the international conference of the gas sector, and I always branded this. This is the most mischievous fuel. Most mischievous fuel, not only now, but right from last 30, 40 years I have been saying. But one suggestion that you made, that suggestion has been there, but some action has been there, but not proportionate to the requirement. One of the ways that we can take care of this, the price shocks, by creating huge reserves. We have LNG, we regasify at a time more and more of these reserves to take care of. Suppose suddenly price becomes very high, it becomes $20, $30, $40 per million BTU, or $12 per million BTU. Suppose $10 per million BTU plus minus. That is the price we want to provide, plus minus, as I said. Then what sort of stocks we should reserve so that we regasify at a time when the global market, which is mischievous market, plays all sorts of tricks. You can imagine there are more tragedies on those things happen. That people signed that agreement to supply gas, international contracts, but they ran away from the contract, paid the penalty. The point is not that. If you do that, then what happens to the capex that has gone in setting up these factories? So there are very many issues which people who have been consumers of this gas, but there are ways to handle this, and one of the ways is this, and how to do it. And both private sector and public sector should be doing it. So I think gas and oil sector is very interesting. We will try to control ourselves in the next round and be very focused and specific only on how to reduce import dependence. And all of you will be invited. Very shortly we will have. I will request the vertical chairman for petroleum gas, Dr. Negi. Negi Saab, we will have another round within a month, focusing only how to reduce import and how to involve the present companies in the optional strategies. Because where now I do recognize that by not involving them as players in the optional strategies, they straightway see a threat to their business. You are asking them, reduce your business. Why should they cooperate with you? Why should they cooperate with you to reduce the business? Today you see NTPC has been doing thermal, it name itself a thermal power station. They are participating in a big way on solar power. They are going to participate in nuclear power. They are participating in hydro projects. So obviously, if we had said, NTPC, finish your growth, then why should they cooperate as a company? Why should their shareholders cooperate with them? Why should their financiers cooperate with them? So I think this is the point perhaps that has been missing. I will not say it is missing, but somehow it has escaped the type of attention that it needed. It has to be given the attention that it needs, and we have to make them partner in that process. Okay, with that, we close this discussion. A vote of thanks somebody has to give. Thank you.